worst thing that a lot of organizations and people fear, that AI will take away people's jobs.
But it's created them. Our IT team has grown sevenfold since we started talking.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and the industry you serve.
My name's Martin Gaffney. I'm the sales director for On-Site Energy. We've been in operation for nearly 5 years. We've got 41 members of staff. We've invested about 150 million in the UK economy as we continue our growth plans to invest up to 500 million over the next few years.
After applying the AI and automation learning from the consultancy that I've created, how would you describe the shift that you have seen across the organization and how it's being seen?
I think in working with yourself, what we've done is we've really kind of opened our eyes to the art of possible. And I think what you've done, which was really helpful, was get us to think beyond where the limit of where we believed we could go was. And that really gave us an excitement of what possible future state of our involvement with AI could be. We previously were looking at a time set of between 3 and 4 weeks. We're now getting that down to 3 or 4 days.
We are joined here by Martin Gaffney from On-Site Energy. So Martin, just tell us a little bit about yourself and the industry you serve.
Sure. So my name's Martin Gaffney. I'm the sales director for On-Site Energy. On-Site Energy is an energy as a service provider. What we do is we evaluate how companies use, consume, and really power their facilities and factories. And what we do is we give them advice on how to save money, cut costs, cut carbon, cut emissions. And we do that on a large scale, so really intensive energy users. We've been in operation for nearly 5 years. We've got 41 members of staff. We've invested about 150 million in the UK economy, and we're just getting ready to move into wider and Central Europe as we continue our growth plans to invest up to 500 million over the next few years.
So it sounds like you're expanding at a good, solid, sustainable rate.
We're expanding at a fast rate. The rate of growth has triggered the conversation that we're having about the use of AI and how that intelligence would actually help us as we progress through with doing more projects, larger scale projects, and how we turn that information faster as we try and get clients moving at a real pace.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how do you see AI affecting the whole landscape? How do you see AI affecting this industry?
It's a really interesting concept, using AI as a tool set to evaluate how companies use energy. We are very clear on the fact that the skill set that the team has is very much one born over many, many years. But when they're analysing some of the data, the mandrolic nature of it means that you have to do a lot of manipulation. AI is perfect for doing that piece of the puzzle and using the software and the algorithms to actually get the data ready for the really intelligent piece, which is done by the sales and solutions architects. So it's the translation of how you take raw data to a meaningful state that actually would make the difference.
What I find is anything that's sort of repetitive or research-based or analysis, AI can be quite complementary. It's like the Jarvis to your Iron Man, almost like the Robin to your Batman.
Absolutely, and it's not to replace the person. It's to supplement what the person does and really give them the edge to use their time effectively. So your analogy is perfect. It works tandem, it doesn't work alone. And that's what we really were intrigued by taking the conversation further on.
So, well, before we started working together, how would you describe the way your processes and workflows were?
Really driven by customer data. The business itself is only as good as the information that we get. So where the data doesn't exist, that's where the problems start to occur. So what we've tried to do is evaluate how we would use the software to plug the gap where the gap exists, or do the data crunch that the team would spend a few days working on and getting the data in the right format. So taking it forward, what we want to get to is a point where we've got the data coming in its truest form, and we've got the software that we can actually do a very quick analysis and a very quick refinement of that information so that we can get it into the process of evaluation much faster than we're currently doing at the moment.
So it sounds like there's a lot of data.
Oh, the Excel files are vast. What we look at is half-hourly data that a client uses over a full year. So every half hour, a data point coming in for 365 days of the year. So you can imagine that it's in the tens and hundreds of thousands of data points.
And it could even be multiple sites.
Oh yeah, if you've got more than one site, you then have to do that data crunch again and again and again and again. And we are looking at, in some cases, 120 sites.
Wow.
So you've got a serious amount of raw data coming through the process.
So all that analysis work, all that repetitive sort of mundane work that could be helped with AI crunching some of those numbers.
Which is where we want to get to that almost utopian state of not having to do that same piece again and again and again and again.
So, and since I came in and I started interacting with you guys, what would you say has changed in the way you and your team approach the data?
I think what we've done is we've tried to look at what the art of possible is. We started with a real small subset, which was how do we clean the data, and that was the kind of first protocol, and that's where we started talking. We've now started to look much bigger than that. So not only how do we clean the data, but how do we find the gaps in the data and plug the gaps? We then started looking at if the software can give us that, it can also then potentially give us a proposal, which is what do we then propose to the client? And then we get the guys to validate that. And through that whole learning cycle, what we can do is we can build up a knowledge path within the AI tool that means that we are being less reliant on verification and more about the confirmation of what it gives us at the end. So it's really opened our eyes to the possibility of what we can actually achieve.
And it sounds like instead of just getting leads and more customers, you're focusing on the quality and then getting back to them quicker.
Yeah, we've got pillars within the business where, you know, the fourth pillar is improve, where we always want to improve on the experience that the client has and the service that we can give them. We're using this as one of the tool sets that will give us that improve mentality, where you're doing that validation, you're doing the verification of what the tool set does, and then you're re-looping back in to improving the whole situation for the client. And that's really one of the main changes that we've done within the organization.
And it seems to me that one of the things you brought up when we were talking earlier was also the fact that how it sets a bit of a positive momentum, because if upfront it takes less time for you to get back to your client with an answer, a proposal, like in this situation, then it sets up the whole sales cycle to be shortened.
Yeah, we want to get that cycle as short as possible. At the moment, we previously were looking at a time set of between 3 and 4 weeks. We're now getting that down to 3 or 4 days with the potential of this software. So it's really a bit of a game changer for the way that the front end of the business operates. Doesn't change the speed of the client, sadly, but it gives us the ability to go back faster and allows the real brains in the organisation to focus on what they're good at, which is the creation of a platform which ultimately saves the client money and can potentially make them more profitable. So yeah, taking that mandrolic part out has been really important.
That's amazing. 3 to 4 weeks to down to 3 to 4 days.
That's the hope.
That's amazing. And before we started working together, had you looked into automation or AI in any capacity?
We had. We'd looked probably about a year and a half ago, and really just at the real kind of boom point in AI. But we couldn't get it to work. We found that the data was too inconsistent. We found that the software wasn't enhanced enough. So looking at it again now with a fresh pair of eyes and with some of the key skills that we've brought into the organisation and that autonomous kind of view of looking at AI as a partner rather than just a piece of software, has given us the ability to get to the point where we actually believe we've got something that can work, which has been a real eye-opener for the business, and something that we're definitely going to keep continuing to pursue.
Excellent. So it seems like you're on a journey. And it's
very much at the start. Yeah.
Excellent. And now, so after applying the AI and automation learning from the consultancy that I've completed, how would you describe the shift that you have seen across the organization and how it's being seen from before to now?
I think, where we were, we knew what the software was, but we didn't know what it could do. And I think in working with yourself, what we've done is we've really kind of opened our eyes to the art of possible. In the background, bringing in some key skills to the business has allowed us to really expand the horizon of what we thought was possible. So, the conversations with yourself where we started looking at that that one singular point of just cleaning the data to actually get into a tool set which was much more rounded, much bigger, much more detailed, and much faster in terms of getting us through our process, has really made us think about what else we could do within the organization that could potentially use AI as a real tool set that we can benefit from. So, you know, I think what you've done is you've opened our eyes to where we potentially could go in the future. So we started with, if we do one thing, it gives us one answer. We're now looking at multiple things and where those multiple answers can benefit us as we go forward.
And that's what I've found with working with other clients as well, that once you see the possibility of what happens with a piece of the puzzle, then it's like, oh, if this can do this here, hang on a second, there's this other thing that we do which it could be helpful in.
Yeah.
So that's
and we're looking at AI across a number of platforms now within the assets that we deploy, how they talk, how they communicate. So yeah, it's been a real eye opener through the process.
And it also sounds like you mentioned that through this process of us conversing about AI and automation, you have actually taken on more staff.
Yeah, we have.
For data analysis.
Yeah, our IT team has grown probably sevenfold since we started talking.
That's amazing.
And looking at how beyond just the use of an AI tool set can be used within the organization as a much broader basis. So yeah, we've really embraced the whole process.
Yeah, and it's not doing the worst thing that a lot of organizations and people fear, that AI will take away people's jobs. In this situation, it's
exactly the opposite. It's created,
Yeah.
But it's created them because of the software and using the software in a really intelligent fashion. So, you know, use it for the mundane, use it for the analysis, use it for the kind of coding,
research.
But but use the people for what the people are best at, and that's the skill base.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a really good journey.
The strategic work, the creative work, it really opens up those possibilities for them, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like the solutions architects can now spend more time being creative and strategic than just sifting through Excel data.
And Excel, yeah, exactly. And not that they don't love Excel, but they would rather be spending time doing something else.
Yeah, excellent. So brings me to my final question, Martin. If another business was on the fence about automation and AI and utilizing this opportunity that AI brings in terms of creating customized software, what would you tell them based on your own experience?
I think to be really open to the possibility of what can be achieved. We probably came from a mindset where we were quite closed when we started the conversation. And I think what you done, which was really helpful, was get us to think beyond where the limit of where we believed we could go was. So when we started to get probed into the art of, well, if we'd done this, it would equate to this, we really started to think. And when we started thinking really big picture, what you done was you allowed us to really see what that crystallization of what it looked like could be. And that really gave us an excitement of what the possible future state of our involvement with AI could be. So my advice to anybody is absolutely lean into the process of trying to find out how far you can take the art of possible, because you really don't know where it could take the future state of the business. And, you know, as I say, with a team that we now have and the support that you've given us, we are now reaching into possibilities that we probably thought were 5 years away, and they're probably about 1 year away now. So the process has been excellent.
And what would you say is, let's say, something that you found a little bit peculiar about the way I have operated and I have worked with you?
I wouldn't say peculiar. I think what we found enjoyable was the fact that you didn't say no at any point. There was always a want to find an answer. And even if the answer wasn't the answer to the exact question, it gave us an answer which went to again, going back to this art of possible, where you gave us a solution to something that maybe we weren't even thinking on. So you challenged us as much as we challenged you with the question. And we found that real collaborative way of working really, really positive.
Yeah.
So, you know, absolutely, we'll definitely work in the future.
It sounds like we had a very high level of curiosity on both sides.
I think we both learned a lot through the process. And I think that came out in the calls where we came off really excited about what the future looked like. So yeah, we can only thank you for the work that you've done.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your time today, Martin. It's been excellent talking to you.
Excellent.
We will continue the good work that we're doing here.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks.
Done? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Good.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering, should we just have a quick sort of general chat about AI?
I can do.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. So, Martin, AI has been a big thing these days. Everybody's talking about AI, ChatGPT and Claude, and all these sorts of LLMs, large language models, which is the most common use of AI. How do you see this landscape evolving, especially in the energy industry and in people's personal lives? Especially, I would say more related to energy and AI. What's going on between energy and AI that's so special?
I think if you look at the way that energy is being used in today's marketplace, 10 years ago, the thought of a smart meter telling you as a consumer how you use energy and how you consume energy within the home would almost be seen as an art of magic. It's that ability that AI has now to not only tell you what you're doing, but actually enhance the way that you use energy. Business is no different. When you look at the way that a company uses energy, it probably equates to around 25 to 30% of their operating cost. So when you look at it in that big picture landscape, if a company's spending 25, 30 million pounds a year on energy, AI telling them how to be more smarter at what they use, the way that they recycle waste, the way that you can present a possible solution to a client really makes a material difference to the way that that customer uses their energy. And it does it in such a way that you don't need hours and hours of manipulation. It can do it very quickly because the software can manipulate the figures and give you an answer much faster than somebody using an Excel toolset can. So going forward, that's only going to get more and more enhanced and more intuitive to the way that the software works.
Yeah, data is the new currency, isn't it?
It is. The big AI and data has been growing now for the last 5 years, and it's not going to stop. The data centers that are getting put in place now are for hundreds of millions of terawatt hours of data. So that spinning around is absolutely the new currency.
Yeah, and like it's the way I see it, it's like AI needs energy. We know that how much energy it's using, as you said about the data centers, and energy needs AI in terms of how the energy industry utilizes that data using AI to be able to make the best use of it.
Oh yeah, the consumption is only going to get greater. We're seeing data centers that we're working with now, where the small ones are 50 megawatts, and now growing to 150, 250, 500 megawatts at peak demand. That's consuming a lot of information to need that amount of energy. So it also needs cooling, it needs water, it needs a full ecosystem to operate, which is almost akin to a small town or city. So, when you've got that amount of energy coming through, it stands to reason that the data that comes behind it is vast. There's a symbiotic nature of the way that data and energy exist, and one that we are really trying to explore and take forward.
Excellent. Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for your time today. And yeah, let's keep energy and AI, the symbiotic relationship strong. And companies like yourselves are doing some great work in utilizing that data to create more opportunities for renewable energy. Like the business is named On Site, you're making businesses more energy independent.
Yeah, and it's taking it from that grid reliance to behind the meter, and self-generation for what they consume on site. So yeah, we're really excited to see where the future lies.
Excellent. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.